Now to Aaron Hernandez. You know, he made millions playing offense, and now the former NFL star must put the defense of his life as his murder trial has now begun. In their opening statements today, prosecutors showed jurors the face of the shooting victim, Odin Lloyd. He was just 27 years of age. There he is on that monitor. 27 years of age when Hernandez, seated there as well, they say orchestrated Odin Lloyd's death. He was shot multiple times, found in an industrial park about a half mile from Aaron Hernandez's home. Now, the prosecutor went into detail after detail about Hernandez's actions that June night in 2013, talking about surveillance video and the texts and other pieces of evidence that showed how Hernandez allegedly worked with two men to kill Odin Lloyd. These are the alleged accomplices. They are also facing charges. Their trials will be separate. Odin Lloyd's loved ones were definitely in that courtroom today in Fall River, Massachusetts, to hear the devastating play-by-play, including how police found his body.
They find 5 shell casings. All of them are collected. One to the left of Odin Lloyd's foot, another off to his right, 2 in that little ditch. I'm sorry. 2 in that little area to his left, right, and then 1 above his head, all to the right side of that photograph.
But defense attorneys told jurors Aaron Hernandez did not commit the murder, and police had tunnel vision in the investigation.
The evidence will show that Aaron Hernandez did not murder his friend Odin Lloyd, nor did he ask or orchestrate anyone else to murder him. Aaron Hernandez is not guilty. We are here because the police and the prosecutors targeted Aaron from the very beginning. As soon as they found out that Aaron Hernandez, the celebrity football player, the New England Patriot, was a friend of Odin Lloyd's, Aaron never had a chance. It was over. They set out on an investigation, ladies and gentlemen, collected evidence in order to support the story they just told you, even when the evidence they collected should have led them in another direction. They locked on Aaron, and they targeted him, even when they developed evidence that 2 other men, who, unlike Aaron, were not friends with Odin, were with Aaron and Odin that night.
With me now, I have criminal defense attorney Robert Schalk and Ashley Banfield, host of CNN's Legal View. So good to have both of you on. And let me just begin with you. Let's go first prosecution and then defense. It struck me the prosecutors really quickly got into the weeds of this whole thing. How did they do? What are they trying to prove? Because I find it interesting in the state of Massachusetts, they actually don't have to prove that it was Aaron Hernandez who pulled the trigger.
No, he just has to be a part of it.
Right.
And I love that you said the weeds, because that's usually what it sounds like. But there's this old expression in a courtroom, and it's great. If you have the law on your side, you hammer the law. Yep. Facts on your side, you hammer the facts. If you have neither on your side, you hammer the table. And a lot of times, the weeds are not the table. The weeds are those facts and the law. And so that jury was getting a real roadmap for how the next 10 weeks is going to play out.
How did they do?
So I think pretty good. You know, we're not in the courtroom, and I always say you can read a transcript, you can hear it on a foggy mic, but it's nothing like having that prosecutor in your face in that jury box, and that's all that prosecutor was talking to, was those 18 members.
Mm-hmm. And what they want to do is they want to play on that emotion. The prosecutor's going to want to go right for the heartstrings. You saw the mother, she was crying. Yeah. And the judge is going to tell them sympathy plays no role in this case, but anyone who's tried a case in a courtroom knows
it's tough not to see
exactly. And for the defense, I mean, they're going to have to rely on the fact that there's no murder weapon. No one puts the gun in Aaron Hernandez's hand. They have to go talk about the fact that the surveillance tapes at Aaron Hernandez's house were not damaged. If he knew he did this, he would have destroyed the tapes. He was the only one with access. So that's a point that they definitely hit home.
We'll get to some of the evidence that's allowed and that's not in just a minute. But staying with the defense, right out of the gate, they were saying he is an innocent man. Odin Lloyd was with his friend. They kept saying friend.
Yep. And that's
Why?
because they want to paint a picture of Aaron Hernandez and Olden Lloyd as the best of friends. He would never do this to his friend. Aaron Hernandez is someone who takes care of his friends. They're going to try to explain why the cars were rented. He's a millionaire. All of his friends don't have money, so he rents cars for people. He lets them live that lavish lifestyle that he lives. And if they associate Aaron Hernandez and Olden Lloyd as friends, again, they might be able to disassociate from the sympathy aspect and see that he didn't do this.
I think also in that whole trail of evidence that's so amazingly strong, a surveillance trail that almost leads you right to the murder scene and right to the bullets to the head. All this defense attorney or this team of defense attorneys has to do is figure out a way to get to one of those jurors and try to get some big piece of doubt.
Reasonable doubt.
Well, it has to be reasonable doubt, but then what is reasonable? Because you might be reasonable about something and I find you unreasonable, and that's where they have to go. They have to get that juror and put some doubt in there and try to convince them that it's reasonable doubt.
What about all the while, before that even began today, you had this judge saying to these jurors, you know, so specifically down to don't read social media, don't, you know, get away from the news, which is obvious, right, in a case like this. But the fact that this judge even said, you know, if you have someone who has a newspaper, cut out sections of the Aaron Hernandez trial.
We were talking about this.
Have you seen that before?
I covered OJ, I covered Phil Spector, I covered Michael Jackson, I've covered all these, Casey Anthony. I mean, they don't get crazier than that. I have never heard an admonishment to a jury go on as long. I think it was close to 5 minutes.
Why do you think that was?
He's a superstar, but he's no OJ.
Right, but their fear is the mistrial. They don't. The prosecution doesn't want it. The judge doesn't want it. If you ask me as a defense attorney, I wouldn't mind a mistrial because it's always a second crack at the evidence, but you don't want to do
Honestly,
this twice.
I think there's more media out there.
And social media,
OJ,
think about OJ versus today.
Yeah,
no
newspaper
Twitter, no
on
Facebook,
OJ. Snapchat, Twitter,
Right.
you know, every single piece of media that could possibly be there.
I have so many more questions for the two of you. Stick around. We're going to take a quick commercial break. When we come back, we will talk about this new piece of evidence. This was new that came out today. A joint was found at the murder scene, and there was Aaron Hernandez DNA involved in all of this. Plus, a surprising development in the search for missing Malaysian jet. Why are officials suddenly referring to Flight 370 as an accident? And emotions erupting in this room at this meeting over Ferguson relations between community and police. We'll speak with one man who was right there.